Hey guys, I'm Michelle from Virtual Hand Care, and in this video, we're gonna do a wrist strengthening exercise routine in real time. So go grab your Theraband and let's get started. Now I'm choosing to use a fairly light Theraband with these because I'm gonna do high repetitions. If you have a few different color of Therabands, that indicates different resistance levels. There's usually yellow is light, pink is light, usually the darker colors like a green or a blue or a black, those are usually harder resistances. Just do what you can and don't strain too hard with these. You want to think more of quality of the movement versus the quantity or the resistance that you're using. And I will put a link below of where you can find some Theraband. So what I've done is I've tied a little loop for my hand. I also have a little knot here. I find that can be a little bit easier on the wrist and you can get a little bit of a better grip to hold on to. But what we're gonna do with this first exercise is we're gonna wrap it around both of our hands and then bring your elbows down at your side. This first exercise is going to be kind of an overall warm-up exercise for our shoulders and our arms. So bring your elbows down at your side. Wrists are nice in neutral position. We're not really moving the wrist for this first exercise. And what we're going to do though is we're going to contract out with our shoulders out into external rotation. So our elbows are staying at our side. And what we're doing is we're just rotating our shoulders out. You can do this with one arm if you want. So if you just want to do your right arm, it would look like this. And it's just a small motion. And then it looks like this with the left arm if you just wanted to do the left arm. Or you can do it with both arms together. Now my wrists are staying nice and neutral with this exercise. So this actually does work on the wrist, but it works on the wrist in more of a stabilizing type of way. Now you might feel some burning up into the shoulder. What we're doing is getting some blood flow going down the whole entire arm. Let's just do a couple more here. You don't need to go too far out to really feel that rotator cuff on the back of the shoulder. And hold here, just feel that burn. And relax. All right, good. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into more isolated movements with the forearm and the wrist. Go ahead and drop the band and you're gonna step on the band. And then you want to go ahead and grab that loop of the band. And what we want to do is we want to start rotating up into supination with this exercise. So we're going to go up and down, up and down. So you want to make sure that the resistance of the band is actually on the inside of your foot, because then the line of pull, you're going to get a little more resistance going into palm up into that supinated position. And again, keeping the wrist nice and neutral with this, we're slowly going to work into moving that wrist. But this is a really good stabilizing exercise and works on those forearm rotator muscles. Good. And then relax that. Now what we want to do is we want to put that band on the outside of our foot. And then what we're going to do is go in the opposite direction into pronation. So now you're going to get resistance going in the opposite direction into pronation or palm down position. And nice and neutral. You can go all the way up and rotate all the way down, or if it's more comfortable, you can just go into the neutral position and then rotate down. Whatever feels good for you. Again, you might feel some shakiness if you haven't really done these exercises. And you can make this tighter or looser with your Theraband. If it feels like it's too too much for you, but you don't have that length in the band, what you can do is just use your other hand and just hold it that way. And good, relax. Okay, let's do the other side. The resistance band is gonna be on the inside of the foot for this one, because remember what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into that supinated position. So now that resistance is on this side, and we're gonna do nice and controlled coming back. So with a Theraband, you really wanna make sure that you're doing a nice and controlled movement. So you're controlling the movement up and you're controlling the movement down. So you're getting a concentric contraction and an eccentric contraction. That's why I like the Theraband, is because it's working you in all directions. And you might even feel it up into the bicep as well. Good, and then relax. Let's go ahead and move that Theraband to the outside of our foot now. Now we're gonna go into pronation. Making sure again you have a nice stable wrist, working on that forearm rotation. One of our muscles called our pronator quadratus helps do this movement, and it's a very big stabilizer for the wrist. Making sure your shoulder is relaxed and the neck is relaxed as well, making sure that elbow's not popping out when you do this exercise. That way you're truly just getting forearm rotation. Good, and relax that, good. Now we're gonna go into actually moving that wrist with the resistance. Okay, so what we wanna do is go back to wrapping your hands around the band, just like you did with that first warm-up exercise for the shoulders, but this time we're gonna keep those shoulders still. We're gonna pull those arms out to the side, and now what we're gonna do is actually move the wrist into ulnar deviation. So ulnar deviation is when we're moving that wrist towards the small finger. It's not a big movement. So we're getting resistance in that ulnar deviation. You don't want to be feeling a lot of pain into the wrist with this. If you are, then you might be just going too far with that. You can do this with one wrist at a time and go back and forth if that feels like it's too much when you do both. Good, and relax. Okay, now let's go into some wrist extension exercises. So we're gonna work on strengthening that wrist going into wrist extension. So go ahead and step on that band again. Bring the elbow at your side. Now this is where I like to kind of hang on to that little knot that you have made with that loop, because that helps keep the band tension kind of centered on that wrist. And what you're gonna do is keep your elbow at your side. You can support your arm with this if you want to. You can also do this hanging off of the side of a table if that's more comfortable for you. And so then what you wanna do is you're going to work on bringing that wrist up into wrist extension. If that feels like it's too much resistance for your wrist, go ahead and give yourself a little more slack, so that you can work more on the quality of that movement. Making sure you're truly just moving the wrist and you're not moving that whole arm. Remember, with the wrist, these are not huge movements. You don't need to do huge movements to get a good contraction of those wrist extensors. Nice and controlled up and nice and controlled down. And let's go ahead and do the other wrist. Again, hold that loop, have the knot kind of be nice and centered on the hand. Get a nice, stable, strong wrist to start and pull up into extension. Again, nice and controlled down and nice and controlled up. You don't have to go all the way up too far back or all the way down. You can just go in a nice, comfortable range of motion. Good. Okay, now we're gonna go into wrist flexion. So now we have our hand turned palm up. Again, elbows bent, and we're bringing that wrist up into wrist flexion and down. Again, you can do it this way by stepping on that band, or you can also do it this way and hang your wrist off of the edge of a table. Make sure that your fingers are curled, but they're not like clenching on that band. You really want to make sure that you're really just working those wrist flexors. Nice and controlled up and nice and controlled down. Good. Okay, now let's do the other side. Elbow at your side, palm up, making sure that line of pull with the band is nice and straight down. It's not kind of torqued to the side. That's one thing you do want to make sure with the band is that you have a good line of pull depending on what muscle group that you are targeting. Good, and relax. Okay, last exercise is radial deviation. That is where we are strengthening our wrist going into this direction towards our thumb in radial deviation. Okay, what we're gonna do again is we're gonna step on that band. We're gonna bring our wrist and forearm into a neutral position here. So in kind of that thumbs up position. And what we're gonna do, nice, strong, stable wrist to start. And then what we're gonna do is bring our wrist up into radial deviation. And again, it's a small movement that you're doing. You're not doing a really big movement with this one. We only have about 15 to 20 degrees of radial deviation as it is, so you don't need to be straining this one. Good, and then let's do the other wrist. Again, stepping on that band. You can hold on to that loop if you want to, or you can just hold this way. You can give yourself as much resistance as you would like here. Nice, strong, stable wrist. Nice and controlled going up in radial deviation and going down. Noticing that the whole arm is not moving with this one. And relax. Now, I hope you feel like you got a good wrist workout. Maybe your whole arm and your shoulders are even feeling like they got a bit of a workout. If you are looking for more wrist strengthening exercises and you want to try something different and maybe not use the Theraband, then you will want to check out this video here where I actually do wrist isometric exercises and no equipment is required for that. Now, let me know how you felt after doing that wrist strengthening Theraband exercise routine. If you found this video helpful, do please give it a like and don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for watching.